Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. You know how we do things around here? We grab a book, an idea, a concept, and we really unpack it. And today we're diving deep into Seth Godin's Free Prize Inside.
Love that book. It's all about this really intriguing idea, the free prize, why it matters, how it works, how it's kind of become the secret weapon for marketing in this crazy, noisy world we live in.
Right, it's not just about shouting louder anymore. It's about making your product, your service, your whatever it is so good, so remarkable, so interesting that people can't help but talk about it. That's the kind of marketing that really cuts through.
Totally. And that's exactly what we're going to dig into today. We'll pull out those key takeaways from Godin's book, the stuff that'll really make you think differently about how you approach your work, your projects, even just how you see the world around you.
So, ready to explore the power of the free prize inside? Let's go.
All right, let's kick things off with a classic example. Let's talk paper clips.
Paper clips. Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, bear with me. For a long time, if you wanted to sell paper clips, you had two basic paths. You could try to invent the ultimate paper clip, some revolutionary new design.
Which, let's be honest, how much can you really innovate on a paper clip?
Exactly, it's a paper clip, right? The other option was the classic. Hit people with a ton of advertising. Build that brand recognition so strong that people automatically reach for your paper clips.
Just flood the market with jingles and slogans.
Exactly. But here's the thing. Paper clips have become a commodity. There's really only so much you can do to make one stand out from another. And in this day and age, people are bombarded with ads everywhere they turn. They're tuning out, they're skeptical, they're looking for more than just flashy promises.
It makes you think about all those classic brands, the ones that built their empires on massive ad campaigns. Mr. Bubble, Mrs. Butterworth's, Mr. Coffee, they were everywhere.
And they were selling perfectly average products. They were fine, they did the job, but they weren't particularly special.
But because they spent a fortune on advertising, they managed to carve out their own space in the market. It was a game of interruption. Interrupt people enough times with your message, and eventually some of them will buy.
And that model, while it worked for a long time, is becoming less and less effective. Consumers are savvier, more discerning. They have more choices than ever before.
Think about a company like Amazon. They've completely flipped that script. Instead of pouring millions into Super Bowl commercials, they focus relentlessly on improving the actual product experience. The website, the shipping, the customer service, it's all designed to be seamless and satisfying.
And that's what's so interesting. They invested in making the product itself the marketing. People love Amazon because it's genuinely convenient, reliable, and often surprisingly delightful. That's word-of-mouth marketing at its finest.
Okay, let's get to the heart of it. This free prize idea. Godin uses this brilliant analogy. Remember being a kid and begging your parents for that specific cereal because it had the cool toy inside.
Oh, yeah. The cereal itself was almost secondary. You wanted that little plastic treasure.
Exactly. And that's Godin's point. In a market saturated with choices, with consumers who are bombarded with marketing messages every single day, the free prize, the unexpected bonus, the extra something special, that's what cuts through the noise.
It's not enough to just offer the basic function anymore. You need that extra something, that unexpected delight, to really stand out and justify charging a price that isn't just rock bottom.
And here's the really mind-blowing part. Godin argues that genuine innovation, building that free prize into your product or service, can often be cheaper than traditional advertising.
Think about it. If your product is inherently remarkable, if it has that built-in wow factor, you don't need to spend a fortune convincing people to buy it. The product itself becomes the advertisement.
He actually lays this out visually with something he calls the Godin curve. The more you spend on traditional media, the higher the return you need just to break even. It becomes this uphill battle.
But there's this sweet spot, this free prize zone, where a strategic investment in innovation actually leads to higher profitability and a much more sustainable growth path.
So what are some real-world examples of these free prizes? What are consumers truly looking for beyond the bare minimum?
It's about understanding what people truly value. It's about tapping into their desires, their aspirations, even their fears. Godin gives this great example of Land Rover. Their customer satisfaction ratings weren't exactly stellar, but their sales were through the roof.
So it wasn't about reliability or practicality. What was it about?
It was the image, the feeling, the association. People were willing to pay a premium for a Land Rover, not because it was the most sensible choice, but because it made them feel a certain way. It said something about them, about their lifestyle.
And this all plays into a much larger shift that's happening. The way we connect, the way we consume information, the way we make decisions, it's all changing at an incredible pace.
Absolutely. The journey from having an idea to reaching your audience has never been shorter or more direct. And the tools available to creators are more powerful than ever. The old playbook just doesn't cut it anymore.
Now, when most people think about innovation, they picture these huge research labs and billion-dollar budgets. But Godin introduces this really important concept, soft innovation.
Soft innovation is about finding those clever, often subtle ways to improve a product or service without needing a massive R&D department.
So it's not about reinventing the wheel. It's about making the wheel roll a little smoother, a little quieter, maybe adding some cool new spokes.
Exactly. Think about those quick lube places that popped up everywhere. They didn't revolutionize the oil change itself, but they made the whole experience faster, more convenient, less of a hassle.
Or the way cell phone plans have evolved. It's not about the phone itself anymore. It's about the flexibility, the data packages, the international options, all those little extras that make your life easier.
Or even something as seemingly as simple as purple ketchup. It was still ketchup, but it was different, unexpected, fun. It gave people something to talk about.
And that's where the purple cow idea comes back in, right? A product or service with a free prize baked in. That's your purple cow. It stands out from the herd of boring brown cows.
It's remarkable, it's memorable, it's the thing that people naturally gravitate towards.
He gives this really vivid example of hernia surgery. The surgeon does their job, performs the procedure, but the hospital also wants patients to have a positive overall experience.
They could invest in some fancy new equipment, but that doesn't directly address the patient's immediate discomfort. So what's the free prize? A nurse offering a throat lozenge and a glass of cranberry juice.
It's such a small gesture, but it can make a huge difference in how the patient remembers their entire hospital stay.
Yeah.
It's about thinking beyond the obvious, beyond the purely functional.
Exactly. It's those little touches, those unexpected moments of delight that create a lasting impression.
It's like Rita's Candy Shop on Highway 11. It's surrounded by gas stations and fast food joints, but her store is thriving.
Because she's created a free prize experience. She has unique candies, nostalgic brands, even individually wrapped penny candy. It's not just a place to buy sweets, it's a destination, a memory in the making.
And there are so many great examples of this in action. 3 Dog Bakery baking human-grade food for dogs. It was as much about the experience for the owners as the nutrition for the pets.
The original iPod wasn't necessarily the most technically advanced MP3 player, but its design, its ease of use, that was the free prize. QBNet in Japan, those super fast, cheap haircuts, they tapped into a very specific need and delivered on it brilliantly.
The Swatch watch, affordable, fashionable, collectible. They turned a luxury item into something accessible and fun. These were all purple cows born from that free prize thinking.
Now, we've talked a lot about the power of these free prizes, but Godin also cautions against relying too heavily on those big, splashy wow moments.
What's the problem with trying to constantly create those massive aha moments?
The problem is they're expensive, and they tend to be fleeting. The first time you see a mind-blowing special effect in a movie, it's incredible. But the 10th time, the novelty wears off.
People become desensitized. It takes more and more to impress them.
Exactly. And that's a really unsustainable path. It's like trying to get your caffeine fix by drinking stronger and stronger coffee. Eventually, your body just can't handle it.
He uses CD Baby as a great counterexample. They built a hugely successful business selling CDs from independent musicians, and they did it without any groundbreaking technology or massive marketing blitzes.
Their free prize was their focus on the artists themselves. They made it easy for musicians to sell their work and connect with their fans. It was a different approach, a different set of values that made them stand out.
So it's not always about being the loudest or the flashiest. Sometimes it's about quietly doing something really well, really differently.
Right, and that leads to another really interesting idea. Godin explores turning problems into features, essentially using a problem as an opportunity to create a free prize.
How does that work? Give me an example.
Think about Amtrak's Acela train. It's a marvel of engineering, super fast, comfortable, but even a small technical glitch with the ticket machines can ruin the whole experience.
All that advanced technology doesn't matter if you can't even buy a ticket.
And in that situation, the free prize could be something as simple as a handwritten sign clearly explaining how to use the malfunctioning machine.
It's about paying attention to those little pain points, those moments of potential frustration, and finding creative ways to smooth them out.
Exactly. Contrast that with Prodigy, which spent a fortune on cutting-edge technology for their early online service. AOL, on the other hand, focused on making things incredibly simple.
The free discs. The easy installation that was their free prize.
People didn't necessarily care about the underlying technology. They just wanted something that worked, something that was easy to use.
It makes you think, do people really want the fancy, over-engineered fortune cookie? Or are they just after the simple wisdom of the fortune inside?
Often, it's those seemingly small, overlooked innovations that have the biggest impact. Think about the humble zip code, a simple idea that revolutionized mail delivery. Or Murray Pergament's early development of the superstore concept long before Home Depot came along.
Or those little gold boxes from Columbia House. A brilliant little tweak in direct mail marketing that generated massive sales. Even Flintstones vitamins, making something healthy appealing to kids.
Brownie Wise and the Tupperware Party, an entirely new way of selling a product. The Four Seasons restaurant creating an entire dining experience, not just a meal. Fast Company magazine focusing on amazing content instead of relying on expensive ads. G.I. Joe action figures with those posable joints, a simple innovation that transformed a toy. The examples are endless.
It really drives home the point that anyone, anywhere can come up with these brilliant, impactful, free prize ideas.
And that brings us to a really important question. How do we approach our own work? Are we just going through the motions, punching the clock, collecting a paycheck? Or are we truly engaged? Are we looking for ways to make a difference, to create something remarkable?
Godin talks about how solely focusing on making money can lead to a pretty unfulfilling career. But being genuinely passionate about your work, finding ways to innovate, to build those free prizes, that's what makes it all worthwhile.
Absolutely. And if you've been given a role, a responsibility, you have the permission to think differently, to challenge the status quo, to find those opportunities to make things better.
And the rewards are huge, not just in terms of profitability, but also in terms of personal satisfaction, engagement, and even just plain old fun.
But if this is such a great approach, why isn't everyone doing it? What are the roadblocks?
Godin identifies a few key obstacles. Fear is a big one. Fear of failure, fear of change, fear of rocking the boat. Then there's organizational resistance, the tendency for companies to get stuck in their ways and resist anything that deviates from the norm.
There's also often a misunderstanding about the nature of soft innovation. People think it's risky, when in reality it's often quite low risk and can yield amazing results. And sadly, many employees just don't realize that their bosses often really want them to come up with new ideas.
And then there's the whole trap of following instructions thing. Godin contrasts Henry Ford's factories, where workers were rewarded for following orders precisely, with today's white-collar world where thinking outside the box is often essential.
Ford's system was incredibly efficient, but it also trained people to be obedient, to follow the rules without question. And that mindset can be really detrimental in a work environment that requires creativity and innovation.
It's like we've accidentally trained ourselves to be afraid of standing out, of being different. We crave those clear instructions, those step-by-step guides.
But in a knowledge-based economy, playing it safe is often the riskiest thing you can do. It's like intentionally breaking a machine in a factory. It's a guaranteed way to get fired.
But in an office, resisting innovation, stifling creativity that's often seen as being a team player. It's a crazy paradox.
And it's a recipe for stagnation. Remember, your job is to make something happen, not just to blindly follow orders.
Godin makes the really important point that innovation doesn't always come from the top. He tells the story of Jeffrey Hunt at Osram, Sylvania, who championed the idea of licensing their brand for consumer electronics, a hugely successful move that wasn't a top-down directive.
People innovate, not organizations. And for organizations to truly thrive, they need to create a culture that embraces risk, that encourages people to challenge the status quo. And that's where the role of the champion comes in.
The champion is the person who takes an idea and runs with it, who overcomes obstacles, who rallies support, who makes it all happen.
Without a champion, even the best ideas often die on the vine. So stop waiting for someone else to do it. Step up and be that champion.
But even with a great idea and a willingness to champion it, there's often resistance within organizations. Godin talks about the Gouliard paradox. What's that all about?
It's this observation that companies often get stuck because they see new ideas as being inherently more expensive and riskier than their existing optimized processes. They've spent years perfecting their current way of doing things, so anything new naturally looks less efficient.
It's like they're so focused on squeezing every last penny out of their current system that they're blind to the potential of something truly different.
Exactly. He uses Go-Gurt as an example. That squeezable tube packaging was definitely more expensive than a standard yogurt cup. But it offered something new, something fun, something that people were willing to pay extra for.
It was difficult work in the sense that it involved challenging the established way of doing things, but it was the kind of difficult work that leads to progress and growth.
Right. It's about recognizing that sometimes the short-term inefficiencies of doing something new are outweighed by the long-term benefits.
So you've got your free prize idea, you're ready to be a champion, but how do you sell it internally? How do you get people on board? Godin lays out these 5 questions to consider.
These are crucial for anyone trying to drive change within an organization. First, have you ever had a great idea? This emphasizes that having ideas isn't enough. You need to be able to sell them. Second, how to avoid idea failure. This highlights the importance of execution. Third, what's the cart and the horse? This means that selling the idea often comes before the fully developed product. Fourth, becoming a champion, it's a conscious choice you make. And fifth, no cow gets sold without a champion, reminding us that the status quo will fight back.
It's not just about the idea itself, it's about the strategy, the persistence, the ability to rally support and navigate the complexities of organizational life.
And this leads to his concept of the fulcrum of innovation. It's about finding that balance between the likelihood of success, the worth of the project, and your ability to champion it.
You need to think about how others will perceive your idea, not just how great you think it is.
And there's this interesting paradox. Truly innovative ideas are often surprise hits. Trying too hard to guarantee success up front can actually stifle the very creativity that makes an idea remarkable.
It's like trying to predict the next viral video. If you could do that, everyone would be making them.
Exactly. Sometimes you just have to trust your gut, take a leap of faith, and see what happens.
So what are some tactical things people can do to champion their soft innovations? What are some practical steps they can take?
Godin offers a ton of great advice. First, acknowledge the status quo, but more importantly, explain what's wrong with it. Before you even present your new idea, paint a clear picture of the costs of inaction.
So set the stage by highlighting the problem. What else?
Build a prototype. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it needs to be tangible, something people can see, touch, interact with. That helps to bring the idea to life. And create a visible symbol of support, something as simple as a cap or a t-shirt. It might seem silly, but it can really help to build momentum.
Those are great low-cost ways to start generating buzz. What about getting buy-in from the higher-ups?
Godin suggests selling the easy part first. Start with a smaller, more manageable piece of the puzzle. Once that's accepted, it's easier to expand from there. And don't be afraid to ask for a signature. Getting a formal commitment, even on a small aspect of the project, can make a huge difference.
It shows that people are willing to put their name on it, that they're invested in the idea. What about managing those more complex projects?
Hire a librarian, someone dedicated to organizing information and keeping everyone on the same page. That can save a ton of time and headaches down the road. And to really inspire people, paint a vivid picture of the future. Use words, images, videos, whatever it takes to help people see the potential of your idea.
It's about creating a shared vision, getting everyone excited about the possibilities. And here's one that might surprise you. Fix your PowerPoint.
Communication is about transferring emotion. Your presentations shouldn't be death by bullet point. Use powerful visuals, tell a compelling story, make people feel something.
So less data dumps, more storytelling.
Ooh, I
Like it. What else?
Take responsibility. Say it out loud. I own this. I'm making this happen. That kind of commitment can be incredibly powerful. And be realistic about time. Front load those critical decisions, get buy-in early, and create a clear roadmap for moving forward.
He even recommends Steve McConnell's Software Project Survival Guide for project management tips. That's a classic.
And he shares some great examples of successfully navigating large organizations. The Voting for Stamps initiative at the USPS is a fantastic case study in building consensus and getting everyone moving in the same direction.
And Dr. Peter Pronevost's simple checklist for the ICU, a brilliant example of a soft innovation that saved lives and money. It's a reminder that even small changes can have a huge impact.
Okay, so now we get to the million-dollar question. Where do you find these free prize ideas in the first place?
Right. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. What's Godin's secret?
He debunks the myth that great ideas are rare and precious. Ideas are actually pretty plentiful. The real challenge is recognizing them, nurturing them, and bringing them to life. He talks about why traditional brainstorming sessions often fail: the pressure, the fear of judgment, the tendency to go for the safe, obvious solutions. Research even suggests that people come up with better ideas when they're working alone.
So ditch the whiteboard and the sticky notes.
Exactly. Godin's approach is called edgecraft, and it's really straightforward. First, find an edge, a free prize that has already proven to be successful. Second, go all the way to that edge. Push it as far as it'll go.
Don't be afraid to go extreme. That's where the magic happens.
Right. And the edge you're looking for might not be the most obvious one. You have to look at things from different angles, consider the less obvious benefits. He uses watches as an example. People don't buy expensive watches just to tell time. They're buying them for the status, the craftsmanship, the story. That's the edge.
So it's not just about the core function of the product. It's about those extra layers of meaning and value.
Exactly. And he provides a whole list of potential edges to explore. Targeting specific niche markets like beaks or laggards, creating a new format or reviving an old one, exploring the extremes of safety or even danger, intentionally leaving something out, over-delivering on certain aspects, maximizing or minimizing external impacts, playing with ingredients or components in unexpected ways, drastically changing the size, reimagining the concept of disposable versus reusable, adding or removing color, using a different tone of voice in your marketing, creating a parody, taking something silly seriously, becoming the expert in a new field, even messing with dress codes. The possibilities are endless.
Like a giant toolbox for innovation.
Exactly. But he stresses that edgecraft isn't just about being different for the sake of being different. It's about finding that genuine free prize that makes you stand out, that makes you remarkable. He talks about value as a potential edge, but acknowledges that true value differentiation is really hard to achieve. And simply focusing on quality isn't always enough. Being very good can actually be invisible in a crowded market.
So it's not about being slightly better than the competition. It's about being different, about offering something truly unique.
Right. And those obvious edges, like bigger, faster, newer, cleaner, those often don't have the lasting impact you might expect.
Okay, let's dig into some of the really powerful edges that Godin highlights.
One that's incredibly powerful in today's world is the network, building communication and connection right into your product or service. Think about photos with embedded stickers, CD Baby connecting artists with fans, Amazon's affiliate program, Netflix offering shareable coupons.
It's about leveraging the power of community, of shared experiences.
Exactly. Another often overlooked edge is ergonomics, making things easier and more enjoyable to use. The original Palm Pilot, pump-style toothpaste, even a well-designed pipette. Those are all examples of ergonomic innovation.
And then there's style, making your product visually striking, memorable.
Think about the Toyota Scion XB with its boxy, unconventional design, or the elegant simplicity of an Evian water bottle. Even Franck Muller watches with their playful, oversized numerals.
Variety can also be a powerful edge, offering either a vast selection or a deliberately limited one.
Mike's famous Harley-Davidson, with its overwhelming inventory of parts and accessories, versus In-N-Out Burger, with its famously concise menu, two very different approaches, but both incredibly successful.
Time itself can be an edge, either saving people time or intentionally wasting it in a way that creates value.
Disney's Fast Pass system is a great example of saving time. And a custom-built Jesse James motorcycle, well, the weight is part of the experience, part of the allure.
Packaging is another one that's often underestimated.
Rhino Records with those amazing box sets. Or Audible, where the lack of physical packaging is part of the appeal.
And then there's the way it's made, either being completely transparent about your process or keeping it a secret to build intrigue.
The Minnesota typeface competition, where the evolution of the winning typeface was completely open and collaborative. Or Kellogg's Crispix, where the exact manufacturing process is a closely guarded secret.
It's like those magic tricks sometimes. Knowing how it's done ruins the illusion.
Safety can be an edge, those ultra-safe car seats that go above and beyond the regulations. And sometimes the free prize is about what you don't do.
The do less edge.
MTV Unplugged, stripping away all the fancy production and letting the music speak for itself. Betty Crocker Cake mixes that intentionally left out the egg, making them easier to use. ING Direct offering Sunday banking hours by closing their physical branches during the week. It's counterintuitive, but it works.
And then there are those companies that completely disrupt entire industries.
Schwab revolutionizing stock trading, Arco shaking up the gas station business, Southwest Airlines redefining air travel, HP finding creative ways to sell printer toner.
Even who sells it can be an edge.
Girl Scout cookies, Tupperware parties, Seth Godin selling his books directly online, the March of Dimes with its grassroots fundraising, Peace Frogs with their quirky, whimsical designs.
It's about finding unconventional channels, unexpected partnerships.
Jumping the retail channel, putting Cranium games in Starbucks, selling classical music CDs at Victoria's Secret, convenience Lunchables for kids on the go. intentionally clunky websites that build a sense of community. Jaywalker's innovative approach to magazine subscriptions, unbundling services, playing with hours of operation, making things feel exclusive or secret, rethinking customer service interactions, creating truly rewarding frequent buyer programs, using humor and parody, bringing experts from different fields into the mix, even something as simple as moving to a better location. The master lock example, those 4 simple design changes that made a huge difference. It's all about thinking creatively, challenging the assumptions.
Godin also shares the story of Specialty Films and Associates. What can we learn from their experience?
They started as a middleman in the packaging industry, but they realized their approach wasn't particularly remarkable. So they took a bold step. They decided to become the factory themselves. They shifted their focus to creating truly innovative packaging solutions. They understood that sometimes the product line itself needs to be the marketing.
So it's not always about adding something new. Sometimes it's about fundamentally changing what you do, who you are.
Exactly. And the possibilities are endless. Think about the evolution of the flashlight industry, constantly exploring new edges, imprinted pushpins, turning a mundane object into a marketing tool. Joy Ito's philosophy of online sharing, building a network of knowledge and collaboration, even retro ringtones, tapping into nostalgia and a sense of fun.
It's clear that the old rules of marketing are changing, aren't they?
They absolutely are. It's no longer just about the ads you create. It's about the product itself, the experience you provide, the free prize you bake into everything you do.
So to wrap this all up for our listeners, the key takeaway from this deep dive into Seth Godin's Free Prize Inside is that creating a free prize, that unexpected bonus, that element of delight, has become essential for effective marketing.
It's about embracing soft innovation, using edgecraft to find those unique opportunities, and becoming a champion for your ideas. It's not always easy, but the rewards are huge for your business, for your career, and for your own sense of fulfillment.
And now, for that final thought to really get you thinking. What unexpected edge could you explore in your own work, in your own field? What surprising free prize could you create? What would make you truly remarkable? Take some time to really think about it. You might be surprised at what you discover.
Your purple cow is out there, waiting to be unleashed. Go find it.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.
See you then.